Like, I can't blame him for doing these things, but there was a time in his career where he's hungry, youthful, active, and busy and could go do.
Knocked down Tyson Fury in the 3rd round, beat him up in the 8th round. Most people, including me, thought he should have won the decision.
I've been at this for 13 years. I didn't come in yesterday to the UFC.
If I've listened to the media and all the so-called boxing experts.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage. Conor McGregor gets a verbal knockout. Recently, Chael Sonnen has been scratching his head over the fact that they haven't figured out the weight class for the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler fight yet. And yes, he has never been one to shy away from speaking his mind.
Never in history have we had a fight where we don't have a weight class. That simply does not happen. There's venues, there's a lot of things. We don't have a weight class, and we still don't have a weight class. It still has not been stated if Conor's going to go to 170 or 155, they're going to do a catch weight. They went on Twitter and said they were going to go 185. I'm just sharing with you, like, this is getting a little bit weird at this point.
However, Sonnen is raising an eyebrow about Conor McGregor's motivation these days. You know, he was even spotted at Tyson Fury's recent boxing showdown with Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia, whereas Conor's been vocal about his frustration over his extended time away from the octagon, especially after that loss he had. But according to Sonnen, it all comes down to the money for McGregor. In his chat, Sonnen is pointing out a clear contrast in the training and commitment levels between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor.
Like, I can't blame him for doing these things, but there was a time in his career where he's hungry, youthful, active, and busy and could go do both of those things. That time is many years ago, and it just seems as though at some point we're getting trolled. So let's see what happens. He's back in the pool. That's a good sign. He's fighting Chandler, they say, at a weight class they haven't picked. No bout agreement that's ever been signed that way.
In combat sports, the excitement around Conor McGregor and his motives continues to grow. Now, only time will tell how his career unfolds and whether the appeal of competition or wealth ultimately prevails. UFC host goes off on Ngannou versus Tyson Showdown. Joe Rogan is pretty inflexible that Francis Ngannou deserved the win in his epic boxing match against Tyson Fury. He's not holding back and even called out the judge, Juan Carlos Pelayo, for his scorecard with Fury winning 96-93. Meanwhile, it's safe to say the fight was incredibly close, but that 96-93 scorecard from Pelayo didn't sit well with many, including Joe Rogan. He expressed his frustration on a recent episode of The Joe Rogan Experience, where he was discussing the fight with Elon Musk. Joe was saying that he believed Ngannou should have won, and that scorecard raised quite a few eyebrows.
Knocked down Tyson Fury in the 3rd round, beat him up in the 8th round. Most people, including me, thought he should have won the decision, including most boxers, most boxing pundits. And he lost by 1 point on one judge's scorecard. He won on one judge's scorecard. Another judge, who should go to jail, had it 96-93 for Tyson Fury, which is fucking outrageous.
After that exciting showdown on October 28th, fans started brainstorming who Ngannou should square off against next in the boxing world. And then there's Joe Rogan, who's quite vocal about wanting to see a rematch between Francis and Tyson Fury. He shared his thoughts on Instagram last weekend, and it's clear he's got his eyes set on that epic rematch. Congrats to the great and powerful Francis Ngannou on a spectacular performance. I hope they run it back. No doubt whatever Francis decides to do next, it's going to be tough for anyone to underestimate him. This guy's a force to be reckoned with. Oliveira hits back at critics. Charles Oliveira isn't taking any of Belal Muhammad's recent claims about his withdrawal from UFC 294 lightly. Generally, he was supposed to face the current champion, Islam Makhachev, in a rematch for the latest date. Unfortunately, just 11 days before the fight, Oliveira suffered a cut, which forced him to withdraw from the bout. Throughout his career, Oliveira has faced questions about his commitment, especially in terms of his in-octagon performances. But this time, welterweight contender Belal Muhammad openly suggested that Oliveira chose not to fight.
I've been at this for 13 years. I didn't come in yesterday to the UFC. I've been at this for 13 years. And I'm going to tell you really the real talk here. They want to surf my wave. That's what's happening. I mean, what do you? I mean, they just want to show off. They just want to show up and just make themselves known and seen and heard. Think about this. Who would actually make up or cause a situation in which you have such a big and deep cut in the day of the of actually traveling. These dudes, listen, they're gonna, all they do is talk shit. That's what they do all the time. And I don't, at the end of the day, I don't pay attention to them.
Now, even though their initial fight date fell through, the rematch between Oliveira and Makhachev is still expected to happen next. That's why fight fans are eagerly awaiting that showdown. Tyson Fury's no excuses statement. You know, Tyson Fury is keeping it real and isn't trying to make any excuses for his performance on Saturday night. He's the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion, but he acknowledges that Francis deserves full credit for pushing him in their 10-round non-title bout in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Also, Fury wants to make it crystal clear that his split decision victory wasn't because he underestimated Francis. Essentially, Fury wasn't taking this challenge lightly, and he respected Francis for giving him such a tough test in the ring. In an interview with IFL TV, he stated,
Didn't underestimate him. I trained for 12 weeks, give it the best preparation I could have done, and that's it.
However, Tyson Fury came into his fight against Francis at a towering 6'9" and weighed in at 277.3 by 4 pounds. While on the other hand, Francis, who stands at 6'4" and weighs 272 pounds, showed a level of refinement that caught many people by surprise. So, when it came to the judges' scorecards, it was a pretty close call. Interestingly, Tyson Fury from Morecambe thought the fight against Francis would be a cakewalk. But as the bout unfolded, he had to admit he wasn't quite sure what to make of Francis, except for the fact that the guy could pack a punch. Then, in a show of respect, Fury had a message for his critics. He asked them to give Francis the credit he deserved for fighting effectively against an opponent many thought had no chance of beating. It was his way of acknowledging Francis's skills and resilience in the ring.
If I've listened to the media and all the so-called boxing experts, oh, it's an easy fight, it's a mismatch, it's not worth watching, then I wouldn't have been able to win that fight.
In simple words, Fury is simply grateful that he managed to get a win against Francis. Now, he can look ahead to his upcoming 12-round title unification battle against Alexander Usyk. Most probably, this fight is slated for either December 23rd or early 2024, and Fury's got his sights set on it. Dana White's biggest regret after firing a fighter. In The Last, former MMA fighter Dan Hardy has some thoughts about Tyson versus Francis. He believes that Dana White might be looking back with some regret. In case you missed it, Francis parted ways with the UFC in January 2023 because of some disagreements on the terms of a new contract. And after Francis' departure, Dana White didn't hold back from throwing some shade his way during an interview following UFC Fight Night 217.
Francis just thinks that he's in a position where he's got some Conor McGregor Mayweather fight on his hands, which he does not.
According to former UFC fighter Dan Hardy, this bout highlighted what Dana White might have been missing at the UFC. It's a wake-up call, showing that Dana White is adept at controlling the narrative to suit the UFC's agenda, and that the way stories are presented can change, depending on what is most beneficial for the organization. He did prove Dana wrong, Hardy said, speaking via Mail Sports' The Hook. The thing is, Dana has got very good spin doctors around him. He's very good at twisting the narrative to suit him and the UFC, which is why he is a fantastic promoter. We see it in politics all the time. Dana's just doing it in a sporting context. Dan Hardy went on to share his personal experiences after parting ways with the UFC, and he stressed that fighters often feel their value decreases when they leave the organization. That clip has come back to haunt Dana, hasn't it? I've seen it's been posted around the internet over and over again, and that's Dana's job, right? His job is to promote the UFC and make it seem like it's the best product on the planet. After the fight between Francis and Fury, there was some teasing about a potential rematch. However, it seems like Francis is gearing up to make his appearance in the PFL later in 2024. So fight fans will be keeping an eye out for his next moves in the world of combat sports. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.